Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we build products in public. Each week, we'll give you an honest peek into our lives as we share our struggles, our wins, and everything in between. I'm Benedict, and I'm feeling excited.
I'm Brian. Today is March 15th. I'm in Boulder, Colorado. This is episode number 131, and I am feeling so happy. Dude, it is great. It is great to see you and to catch up.
Yeah.
I was saying we just need to hit record right away before because I want to catch up and everything. But just hit record right away and and start talking.
It's been a while. I just checked out the last episode where you were on was published on December 15th, and today is March 15th. So
that
almost exactly 3 months.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. I didn't look it up, but I had I was like, I think it was mid-December. It's like 3 full months, and that feels about right. It feels about how long it's been. It's been great.
It took some time to get used to not talking to you every week.
The same here. It is weird. Like, I mean, we've talked every single week for 100 something weeks. So it was weird to I guess it was probably different for you than for me because I still am listening to the podcast. Like, I still feel like I know what's going on for Benedict. But whereas I'm not I'm not giving you a regular update of my week on Slack.
Yeah, I remember at some point I had to send you an email and just ask, hey dude, what's going on?
What's going on? Yeah, I know, because I'm not on Twitter. I'm really not anywhere right now.
Good for you.
Yeah, which I guess that kind of leads into a little bit of what is going on for me, what's been happening. Big news. Well, is that we're back in Boulder, but the people in our house, their lease is through the end of July because that was the original plan.
Yeah.
And so we have been staying in this tiny little 2-bedroom Airbnb in our friend's backyard since January. It's small for a house, but it's 700 square feet. That's twice as big as the RV. Still not as spacious as our house, but it's been so great. It has been amazing. First of all, just being back, in Colorado has been awesome, but it's also just been really cool, like being neighbors with our good friends, and the kids just hop out into the backyard and play. That's all been awesome. But we just heard a few weeks ago, our renters have found another place. So they are moving last week of March, and we are moving into our house the first week of April. So that is...
You excited?
I'm very excited. It'll just be nice to just be back, in our space, our place. But dude, throughout this whole thing, I have not missed things. And so we're just, looking around the RV and now this tiny little casita that we're in, and just thinking, we have a big crawl space full of boxes, and we're just like, what's in there? What is all that stuff? We should just have an estate sale and just show people the opening to the crawl space and be like, hey, if you want something, go grab it, because we clearly don't need it. But it'll just being back in our space, our home, our house will be great. I'm very excited. Very excited.
Very cool. So what's the conclusion of the half year or little over half year on the road.
Yeah. Man, we're still processing the whole thing as a family. I mean, it was pardon me. I mean, it was difficult in a lot of ways, and it was amazing. Like the highs and very low lows. There just was not a lot of in between. Do you know?
Yeah.
And and all of that in between in your day to day life, I think, is what allows you to rest and to reflect and to take stock. And because for 7 months we were either on top of the world going to Universal Studios every day for 6 days straight, or just missing our friends in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, getting stung by wasps and nearly, flipping the RV over, and like there was just no in between. So for me, I think I know, like, my big takeaway from it is that for me, my home is a place where I can find peace and rest. And it very likely includes, the people who are most important to me in the world, and ideally in a landscape that speaks directly to me. Those things are all true in Colorado. um, my house is a place where I can find peace and rest. My wife and kids are with me, and I love the mountains. And so this feels like home. And for 7 months, uh, those, not all of those, pieces of the puzzle were together. And so I never felt at home. And that's really tiring.
Yeah. I can see that.
But yeah, we're still, Laura has, she put together this really just beautiful, like, collection of photos. And so we've got this digital photo frame now that's just like constantly cycling through, 1,200 photos. And it is wild to just look over there and be, oh yeah, I remember that. I had forgotten about that. And not like it's just all these, oh, I remember that creek in West Virginia. That was beautiful. And so that's helpful, and we'll have that for forever. And it feels good to be slowing down and resting.
So conclusion is it was worth it, but let's not do it again or something like that.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely think it is fair to say, in conclusion, it will be worth it. We are still in the process of the kids feeling, happy for it. Well, that's not true. I mean, I think most of the kids mostly are are happy about it. But we've still got some outlying frustration and anger to talk about and work through, which is good. Yeah, which is fine. So it's good for their development.
I guess it will still be a little bit different when you're finally back in the house, right? I mean, it's still,
yeah,
you're in the right neighborhood, but it's still not fully at home. So
yes, if so, I guess my people have asked around here, and like, my advice would be, if this is something that you're thinking about doing, if that seems like a season and an adventure you want to go on, my advice would be, preschool aged kids, that would have been really tough and they wouldn't remember much of it. To middle school aged kids, they missed, it's too much of an upset to their social life and how central and important their social life is. So, if I could go back in time, then I would have hoped that we could have done this when the kids were all in elementary school. I think it would have gone better. But I mean, everybody's mileage will vary. Like every kid is different. And so, that's just our experience. But it was echoed by other folks we met on the road too, for what it's worth.
Okay.
So
yeah,
anyway.
I mean, sounds reasonable. Makes sense in a way.
Yes.
So.
Yep. And if you don't have kids, then heck yeah, go for it.
Would you start like with a shorter period, like build up to the full year, or do you still feel like going all in for like 9 months? What was it, like 16 months or so, the initial plan?
The initial plan was 14 months, and 14. We did 7, so exactly half. And I think that particular thing is just so contextual and personal preference, etc. I mean, there was a lot that we didn't do that would have been amazing in that second 7 months. And it's right that we called it. So no, I think a 1 year-ish, first shot is actually, pretty good, pretty cool.
Okay.
But I don't know.
So now what's the plan with the RV? Like, are you keeping it, or are you selling it?
No. It is gigantic. It's way too big for our, weekend and weekly summer trips. When we had the pop-up, we would spend like about 20 to 25, 30 nights, a year in it, over weekends and weeks combined. And so we need something that's like, that will house us, that'll, that we can camp in. But that thing is just gigantic. You're just so limited on the number of places that you can even get into. So we will sell both the trailer and the truck, and basically just, downsize something that will be bigger than the pop-up, but smaller than a, 44-foot long, gigantic 25,000 pound fifth wheel. Thank goodness. So, so we'll be doing all that when we, settle back into the house and, can set it up in the driveway, freshen up the paint, blah, 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 and put it up for sale. So,
yeah, nice. So do you have any plans of like doing the second half of the road trip in like smaller chunks?
No. I mean, Laura and I will. When down the road a little bit. Sorry for that pun. Down the road a little bit. She and I will probably like spend a month or two on the road every year for the rest of our lives after the kids are off in college. But nah, we won't be doing this exact thing again. No.
Okay. Fair enough.
But yeah, because what we have been able to do like every summer is to just do a direct home exchange. Somebody comes and stays in our house. We go stay in theirs. And so we've done Iceland and Florida and Washington State. And so that's really, really cool. 3 weeks somewhere different and interesting. Like we'll do that. That'll be like incredible. Like, but not gonna try to do the second half on the road anytime soon.
Well, yeah.
Not even in chunks.
Had to ask.
No, it's a great question. Yeah. Yep. But what else, man?
Yeah, so the other interesting topic always is what's up with the board game.
Yes. So the publisher that put on the contest and that we won. They just move so slow, and there's been like stretches of a couple weeks where they're supposed to be getting back to us, they're dragging their feet, and so we've Graham and I've had these conversations of like, I mean, what's the deal here? Like, are they are they trying to are they not interested after all? Are they trying to take advantage of us? Like, are they just really terrible at operations? Like, what's the truth here, so that we can determine, do we need to be worried, or do we just need to be like exploring our options, or do we have nothing to worry about? And so basically, like, through talking to a number of people in board game industry, listening to a ton of podcasts and interviews with established designers, this is apparently like extremely common. The front end of the process is just so slow, because as far as their pipeline goes, you're like the least urgent thing going on. They have deadlines and calendar and manufacturing and shipping and things that they're trying to hit right now. And so the full on consensus is, yeah, it's totally typical. You got nothing to worry about. So, but the bummer of it is that we're still like, they're still play testing it and having internal conversations and blah blah blah, and we're just like, gah, come on. But the decision that we've made is, okay, this is taking longer than we would like, but it seems to be normal for the industry, and we don't want to kickstart this ourselves, and so this is just the situation that we're in. But I mean, the folks there that we've talked to are delightful. They really love the game. They have incredible feedback when we played it online with them. So all of those things are lining up. They just do not move as nimble and quickly as we're accustomed to being bootstrap software developers. So anyway,
makes sense.
It's good, but we've to keep our creative juices alive, we've started working on a second game that we're both really enjoying so far. Very, very early stages, and so that's really fun. Putting some creative cycles into another idea while we let all this boring email admin stuff back and forth happen. So,
but sounds like you're set on publishing with that publisher, right?
As of right now, yes. And so then, like, all the advice is, when the official offer is made and the contract is signed, be sure that the contract includes a clause with like benchmarks along the way to say, if you have not taken these actions by this date, then you lose your rights, and actions by this date, you lose your rights, so that they can't just sit on it and do nothing for 6 months, or take some steps, get the artwork, but then not publish it for 18 months. Like, each step along the way, you put a gate in place, so that if they haven't haven't done things, then you get it back and can shop it elsewhere. So, but so
that makes sense.
Right now, that's where we're at.
Cool, exciting.
So,
what's the new?
Very exciting.
What's the new game about?
So the new game is it's basically, whereas Backpack is a cooperative game and everybody's on the same team trying to save the hikers or to like survive as a hiker, this new game we're working on is a competitive game. Everyone's out for themselves, and you are each playing like a faction of bees, where you're going around to like the orchard or a lavender field or the farmyard, like on the map. trying to collect as much pollen or recruit rogue drone bees along the way. And you do that by improving like your deck of cards. So in gaming, this is called a deck builder, similar to a game like Dominion or Road to El Dorado or Great Western Trail. And so you're trying to like make your hand stronger than your opponent's by making the most efficient moves per time so that you can go to a given market or like the field, wildflowers farm, whatever. You go to that market and buy something out of a common deck. And so, so that's where it's at. We've played it, I think 4 or 5 times. So it's good enough that we're going to keep working on it, but it's not good enough to necessarily get anybody else in front of it, or get it in front of anybody else quite yet. But it's actually quite close. So yeah, that one's
interesting. Like, as you mentioned, Dominion. We played Dominion for the first time in quite a while over Christmas. And I think it took like 1 or 2 hours just to set it up and understand the rules. And repackage everything. Like, it was a new box. So at some point we were like, do we really want to do this? Like, we hadn't even started playing, and we were still like trying to figure out where what part goes and stuff like that. But once
you get it in place, like so many games, trying to learn it takes forever. If you don't have somebody at the table who can just like set it up and be like, okay, this is what this does. That can be tough.
But that was a little frustrating, but in the end, like, we made it to the point where we started playing, and then playing it was quite fun. And I hope next time we play it again, it will not be as miserable as this time.
Right. So you just have to be sure you play it again within a week, so that you don't have to relearn the rules, and setup is easier.
We already failed on that part, but I mean, at least we have all the cards sorted now, so that's a decent thing.
Yeah. That's a good one. Well, what else? GitLab is amazing. I'm loving the job. It's definitely a big company. Lots of moving pieces, and to get things done. But not nearly as much as I expected. Like, it kind of, I would say it sort of depends on what sort of project you're trying to move forward. Like, some things move surprisingly fast, and it takes nothing to get a change in place process wise, and then some things like act just like a big company you would expect, and there's multiple meetings and conversations and that sort of thing that we always talk about not wanting. Totally exists. Definitely a part of my week to week professional life now. But it's just very fulfilling. It's very, very calm. And I guess I think that this was definitely the right move. I feel much more relaxed, way less stressed than self-employment and trying to bootstrap a software company. I really really wish that it would have worked, but this is very nice. I'm definitely enjoying this.
Well, that's nice to hear. I mean, we all dream of like having our own thing. But ultimately, I mean, you don't live to work, and if
Yeah.
like work is just make you miserable, and you just like don't have time and energy to do anything else, it's also not a fun
Yeah.
exercise. So
Yeah.
sounds like it was the right choice, and you're enjoying it quite a bit more than whatever was before, right?
Yeah, it definitely feels like, whereas before I would be consulting to pay the bills and then trying to build to bootstrap a SaaS to scratch the creative and fulfillment itch. Now I just work for GitLab and then put my like marginal energy and creative time into game design, and I have 1,000 times more mental and creative energy left over um, than
That's
than
nice.
trying to
Yeah.
bootstrap something as while you're self-employed. It's just it was not not I'm so bummed that it didn't work, because I would rather have this degree of autonomy, as with my own thing, but it just wasn't happening. So
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, I guess like to close the loop on that, or it's not totally closed because I still get inquiries coming in about jtbd.app, and consulting work, requests keep coming in. And right now I just say, hey, it's on hold, it's on pause. But like legit inquiries from companies that we've heard of are like, can you help us run this project? Or, hey, can I sign up for your thing? So it's still simmering on the burner, but until I feel completely recharged, I'm just not even gonna mess with it, not even gonna worry about it. So
Yeah, makes sense.
that's where it's at. So the hiatus will continue. So
Sounds like a smart idea, not to push it, and like not to
not to
force it.
push it. Yeah, but tell me what's going on with you, and been getting the updates on user list. MRR is still trucking along.
Yeah, things are a lot better than last year at this time. And while it's still not where I want it to be, it's at least the trajectory is looking much better these days.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
yeah, like my overall state of mind is a lot more relaxed recently. And I just don't feel as stressed. Well, if you exclude the other stuff that's happening around the world.
Yeah. Geopolitical.
But like work-wise, it's super nice these days. So can't complain.
What's it like having employees?
Like when it works out, it's great.
Yeah. Yes.
Like for example, last week, and that maybe brings me a little bit to what's been happening in the last week is we had a customer reach out about a strange behavior in the system where they wouldn't see updates since January, or just not like they'd see updates but not new signups, and that didn't make any sense. And after a lot of digging and head scratching, I figured out that one of the changes we deployed in January prevented our data processing pipeline to work like it should be in a specific specific edge case, and only this one customer had this specific edge case of like
Wow. So
types of data
that
they were sending.
customer was still seeing customer activity.
Yeah.
It's just a particular type of new customer event wasn't making.
Yeah, like
yeah.
For existing customers, they'd still see what they logged in and stuff like that. But for new customers that just signed up, they wouldn't show up. And it took a while to figure out what was going on, and as I said, took a lot of head scratching. And eventually we figured it out and were able to fix it, and now it's all good. We added a bunch of more tests to it. Like, it was already super well tested.
It's already well covered.
So I thought.
Yeah. Well,
So
clearly
thought,
it was.
except for this one edge case.
Yeah, only one. Yeah.
And in the end, it was related to like circular relationships between users and companies. So you can, like, if you set it up correctly, and depending on how you'd send the data, you can like increase, like build loops in it. And we had some measures in place that would prevent that, because like you don't want to get stuck in an infinite loop trying to save the same thing over and over again.
Right.
But there was a mistake in there that was a little bit like, it didn't correctly stop the processing at the right moment. So you could do like a very elaborate route through a couple of resources that would then like cause stuff to fail, and we didn't notice until this customer reached out to us. But anyways, long story short, was the initial question was about employees, and the nice thing last week was that even though my schedule for the week was basically blown away by this issue, and I spent like 2 days just hands on, head down into code, like trying to figure out what was going on. Our new front-end developer was like checking along on his to-do list and updating dependencies on the front end and like fixing stuff and doing stuff. Whereas previously, like events like this would basically derail the entire development workflow for like the entire week.
Right. And with the team, you maintain momentum, or you're more likely to maintain momentum.
Yeah,
which is
exactly. And I mean, sure, like we didn't do all the stuff we had planned for the week, but at least like all that maintenance work that he was focusing on this week was still getting done and finished and moving forward, because of all the things like updating dependencies and adding more tests and stuff like that. That was always the first thing to like fall off a cliff, because like it was more important to get the system working correctly. Like, let's not update a bunch of dependencies. And then the next week, maybe things are back to normal, but you're still not updating those dependencies because you have to catch up on the work that didn't get done last week. Like, and all of that is just nice to have a team and not be alone and not get everything thrown out of the plan because something unexpected came up.
So
this definitely adds a lot to my mental state of mind and my ability to stay calm, because I know stuff is still happening and I'm not a bottleneck on everything. And also, in a way, it's also just having one other technical person on the team is nice in terms of the bus test. Like, I'm not I'm not the single point of failure anymore. I mean, sure, like if anything happens to me and I can't work for some reason, sure, it will be hell for Leo to figure out the backend code and all of that and maybe fix a bug there. But at least I think he would be able to figure it out like after a week or so. Whereas before there was basically no one else that would be able to like at least start trying to figure it out. So yeah, it's so nice.
That's great. Congrats. That's
thank you. It's amazing. It's helping my mental state a lot. Yeah. So I'm glad we made that. Surely. We made that move and hired some help. Other than that, on a not so nice news front, Wise and Upwork decided to terminate our accounts because of Jane's involvement in the company.
Wow.
So a lot of arguing didn't help.
Yeah. Even though the company is a US company.
Yeah,
Wow.
like the company is a US company. Like the vast majority of shareholders are either from the US or the EU. But like the options they presented us were basically you remove her from the shareholders entirely or have her move somewhere else, which both is kind of ridiculous. And I'm still not entirely clear on what the basis for this is. Like, I mean, sure, I get where they're coming from, but
Right.
like legal wise, I don't quite get it because all the sanctions I looked into so far are not like requiring people to do this. I mean, sure, there's like this 50% rule of like if the company's own like has an owner that owns like more than 50% of the shares and who's happen to be from Russia, then sure the sanctions apply. But in a way, it doesn't like
Minority holder doesn't seem like
minority
that's
holder doesn't it. I don't get it. Like it doesn't make any sense because obviously like publicly traded companies, they will probably have like 1 or 2 Russian shareholders as well.
right.
And you don't stop
Right.
doing business with them because of that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
a
man.
mess.
That is messy. That is
Yeah, and just like
difficult.
makes it harder, like makes everything harder. I mean, luckily it's just Upwork and Wise. Like we're not using both of them excessively just from time to time. So we can operate without those two. It's not that big of a deal, but it also makes you wonder like who else is going to
Yeah.
do like stuff
Yeah.
like this and like close stuff down just because there's someone involved that
Well,
has a Russian sounding name or whatever.
I know. Yeah. I mean, it is what is so messy and complicated about the world right now is to
Yeah.
be like 100% in favor of, I would have said, any and all sanctions and pressure to put on the Russian government to punish them for this decision. Like, I will raise my hand and defend that
Yeah.
until you realize, well, I mean, the government is going to be insulated from a lot of that, and it's regular people who will bear most of the brunt of most of the sanctions. And it's just really, really messy.
It's not as clear cut as you'd wish it would be, right? I mean,
right.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
but we're
I'm
kind
so
of like
sorry.
well, it's not your fault.
Well,
we just can't like we just have to deal what is thrown at us. And sure, like we have a couple of plans, like depending on how bad it gets. Like we have a couple of not written down agreements, but like a couple of ideas of what we can do. Like the worst case would be to just like remove Jane from the company, as harsh as that sounds. But if it gets to that, I guess that's the one thing we have to do at some point, and then maybe
I mean,
in the future get her back in.
I was gonna say, especially given your history and friendship together, to say for the time being this is what needs to happen for the company. But
let's hope it doesn't get to that.
Yeah. What a gnarly.
Indeed, yeah.
I've thought about y'all a lot.
Thank you. But overall, I mean, things are okay. MRR is growing.
Yeah.
Team's working well.
Yeah. How I'm curious if because my experience of it, like from my perspective, is that things do seem to have been picking up, or at least moving in the right direction faster and more consistently recently. Is that true? How much of that is coincidence because it just took a little while to really get the machine moving, and how much of it is the marketing email like side of the business?
I think a lot of it's coincidence.
Okay.
I don't have like hard numbers,
Mm-hmm.
but it's safe to say that it hasn't moved the needle as much as I'd hoped.
Okay.
And in a way, looking back at it, I guess it was one of those table stakes features that like got us excited because we finally removed like an objection. But for a lot of people, it was basically just that, like an objection.
Yeah.
Like it's not like
Yeah.
like a shiny new thing that no one else is doing, and like they get super excited by seeing it. I guess they just like see it and be like, yeah, obviously that's
Of
the thing.
course. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's not a differentiator in that sense. So in hindsight, I think it was good that we tackled it and that we can do this now, and it doesn't come up like as a problem anymore. But it's also not like the killer feature that
not this big delighter that's gonna. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Do you have because I know that y'all were that you thought about it for a while and even kind of struggled with, do we want to tackle this or not? And the market, I think, eventually convinced you. Do you feel like there are other like table stakes requests that you need to address, or are you in a no, let's build some delighters kind of zone?
Well, the one table stake thing that always comes up is A/B testing.
Okay.
That's like the thing that marketers want to have.
Yeah.
But like talking to like competitors and like people in the industry, like they're all saying the same thing, that yes, people request it and they want to have it, and it's like a checkbox on their purchasing checklist. But in the end, nobody's using it. So it's one of those things that we probably have to do eventually. But I'm not super excited because it feels like just a waste of time.
Yeah. I wonder, how could you ethically like be able to provide something that checks the box and truly provides A/B testing, but is nowhere close to like robust,
Yeah, I don't know. There might
not
be
helpful
ways,
though,
but
because like, yeah, I mean,
yeah, I guess at some point we'll figure something out. But that's like one of those requests that keeps coming up from time to time.
Yeah.
At the moment, what is kind of nice in our product development cycle is that for the first time in basically forever, we're actually like focusing on the small delighters here and there, and like the small improvements, and or just like taking an existing thing and revamping it and like polishing it and finally making it work the way we want it to work. And that's very like fulfilling in itself, of like just getting rid of all the hacky stuff that we built in the first days and now replacing it with a proper solution.
Yes.
So that's kind of nice.
It's more than kind of nice. That's amazing. I mean, that's an achievement to be able to get to have survived for, survived
long enough to allow refactoring a little bit.
Yes. Seriously, that's a badge.
Yeah.
Cool.
But that's it, basically.
All right. Well, I mean, I do have to go because I have an actual work meeting. That I need to prep for, but it was so great. It was so great catching up.
It was. Yeah. Thanks for coming back on.
Yeah, for sure. We'll do it again, and maybe more like 6 or 8 weeks rather than 3 full months. this time. So
Totally. Yeah.
I'll reach out to you and talk to you on Slack. Later, man.
Yep. Looking forward to it. Bye.
Bye.